Okay, now we're recording, so this is good. I'm a little slow this morning. Everything's a little bit slow. The computer's running slow. I'm a little bit slow. Everything's a little bit slow, but that's okay. Um,
It's morning.
so
It
it's
happens.
morning. There it is. So I don't see any questions yet. I see Nasha saying hello. Hello, Nasha. Hope you're doing
Hi,
well.
Nasha.
Um, but we had talked yesterday, and I just came up with a working title of Cassie. I don't even know if Cassie is the right name for the character of our first show, but um, I one thing I do know, I wrote a novel at one point,
Hmm.
and I got a lot of lessons from my sister, who was a theater major in school,
Hmm.
and she's also a playwright, and she wants to be a screenwriter. Um,
Hmm.
and I was just getting ideas about, how do you write good fiction? How do you tell a good story in writing?
Hmm.
Process of doing that with her. One thing she taught me that really stuck with me is a single sentence. You don't tell a story, you show a story,
Hmm.
right? Because
Yeah,
that's what happens in any kind of good television program or movie. It's always shown to you. It's not explained to you, right?
exactly.
Yeah, so that's part of what we have to do. We have to figure out how to show the story, but more importantly, you have to start off with a couple of basics. You have to start kind of outlining things like who are your characters and what are
Hmm.
their characteristics?
Right.
Um, and one of the things I learned really early is that we have a tendency to think about who the characters are in the context of what the story is going to be.
Hmm.
But actually, I learned you have to do more than that. You have to make them a complete character. You have to give them a name, a place to live, an age, a gender,
Hmm.
something they do for a living, what their interests are, what they love to
Hmm.
do, what they don't like, like an
Exactly.
personality profile. Not that you're going to use all of it in the writing of whatever it is you're writing, but simply because when you have a clearer idea of it, it's like visualizing, right? The more
Yep.
that we clarify what we're visualizing, the
Hmm.
more
You got
likely
to
we're going
paint
to
the
know what's
picture.
happening. Got to paint it, yeah.
Hmm.
So that's one thing we need to do is first identify who our main characters are going to be, and
Hmm.
second of all, what are they like? What's their stuff? And then once we've done that part, then I think we can also start coming up with plot lines, which you and I exchanged a couple of emails, and you said you have a whole bunch of plot lines in here.
Oh.
So I have an entire notebook here that I can fill up with characters and plot lines, okay? So,
Fantastic.
we have no lack of space to write this stuff down. So I thought fun. I want you to tell me some of the things you've been thinking about in any particular order. Don't feel like you have to do characters first or something like that. Just tell me about some of the things you've been thinking about, and then we'll just kind of zero in on this.
When you emailed me last night, I was thinking of this one situation I'm currently dealing with, not in my personal life, but a friend is dating a married man.
Oh dear,
So,
yeah.
yeah. And
Good television.
yeah, I know. But so she's the other woman, but didn't believe she was the other woman the whole time. She believed that, the story that he was like, oh, we're getting a divorce. Now, first of all, if someone's getting a divorce, let them get the divorce, then work it out after.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, so she's just writing to my friend telling her, oh, I just found out they've been together the whole 2 years that we've been together. And I'm just like having flashbacks in my childhood because that's my dad all over.
Oh yeah. Right.
So it's like it's little stuff like that, but she's such a victim though. Like she plays the
Mhm.
victim, so I can't even feel sorry for her. So that was one of the stories that I was thinking of. Um, but lots of stories like that of women being put in difficult situations where men end up disappointing them, and then they end up falling for the same type the next time around and expecting different results, and that's the definition of insanity. So,
And it's also a definition of how things usually work because if we don't change our mindset, we keep doing the
yeah,
same thing over and over again.
yeah, exactly.
And it's not just in these kinds of dramatic situations. It's everything in our lives, everything
Yep.
we deal with. If we don't change our mindset, we keep getting the same thing over and over again. And then I say,
Hmm.
I don't like that thing. We'll change your mindset. No, it's not my fault.
Seriously.
It actually raises an interesting question. Do we turn these into dramas or do we turn them into comedies?
I
Because they could
it,
actually be both.
there's a genre called dramedy.
Dramedy? I hadn't heard that one.
Dramedy, yes.
Okay. So comedic drama then.
Yep.
Now, can you give me an example of that? Because I can't say I've ever been able to say I
You
know what
don't
that
watch
is.
anything I watch, so I don't know. Okay, let me think movies.
By the way, I did have to tell you, you mentioned to me that what was it, the Christmas story?
Uh-huh.
And
You asked
I,
Louise?
I asked Louise about it. She had heard about it. She doesn't watch it either.
Oh, thank God. Me neither.
And she couldn't even tell me who the actors were. And Louise always knows that.
Exactly.
So, I mean, if she couldn't tell me who the actors were, it was nobody. Nobody we'd ever heard of. It had to
Right.
be. Because if it was
Right.
anybody, she would have been able to tell me.
Exactly. It's no there, there's no Brad Pitts in there. There's no, it's they're in that movie and that was it for them. Yeah.
And from what Louise was saying and from what you were saying, it sounds like it's with good reason.
Hmm. Yeah. But we are probably the only ones that think that because America like lives for A Christmas Story at Christmas time. Like they play it back to back to back for 24 hours on two channels
Really?
and every year. Yeah.
Well, there is a lot of what Louise calls schlock out there. There's no doubt about that. But why do you think people like to watch it so much? Do you have any ideas?
Nostalgia because it came out during their childhood.
But there were other things that came out during that era, because I grew up in that era. There were a lot of things that came out that were much better than that. I don't
I don't know.
understand.
I don't know. I don't get the whole thing, so couldn't tell you. I'm just like, oh, it's on again.
I mean, because that's how I ended up on this project.
Hmm.
Because I told you about that company that was thinking of buying out the other company,
Yep.
and I actually went to check out one of the shows that they had,
Hmm.
and the show didn't impress me at all. I thought this is really
Right.
fun. This is boring.
Hmm.
Had a huge following, and what I ended up concluding was it wasn't that the story was this great storyline because it wasn't, and it
Hmm.
wasn't like the acting was this great acting because it was like it was okay. It wasn't bad.
Hmm.
The production values were high, but the
Hmm.
acting was just sort of like ho hum. It was that it was showing the story instead of telling it.
Hmm.
And in the world of podcasts, that's extremely unusual.
Yeah, that's rare. Hmm.
I think that's what it was.
Hmm.
Not that it was a great show, it's just that it was doing something nobody else was doing.
Hmm.
And that's it. So
Yeah,
it
they
seemed
just want to
well.
get in on the ground floor of something innovative.
Exactly. And do they have a big budget behind them? Absolutely they do. They've got
Yeah.
millions behind. They're being backed by the American Broadcasting Corporation. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. And they still managed to put out schlock, which is really amazing. But But my point is, I mean, if they can put out schlock, we can put out even something that's a little bit better than schlock and being on the ground floor,
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
So I have to tell you too, this is the first time in my life I've ever used the word schlock in a sentence.
I
So
was
this is,
gonna say, I've never heard you use that word. I've never heard that word in my life, but here we are.
in fact, I had to ask Louise, what exactly is schlock? Because I've heard it before, but I didn't really have it knowledge. She said it just
I
means
mean, I get
crap.
the
Oh,
gist of
okay.
it, but
Yeah, it's pretty clear what it is.
yeah.
It's sort of onomatopoetic. It sounds like what it is, right?
Yeah. Hmm. Exactly.
All right, so you laid out one really good plot. Anything else that plots or characters or anything that came to your mind?
Um, I'm very interested in the men that we're going to create for this show because they've got to be charming. They have to
Charming.
be, yeah, they have to be charming. They have to be, you know what I mean? Because you got to believe their story.
Mm,
You got to believe what they're telling you in the moment,
hmm.
and to the point where you're blinded the whole relationship until
Right.
what? You're married? What? When do you see your wife? You're always here.
It's a good
You
point.
know, that type of thing. So I'm very interested in doing that. So I actually, when I was younger, I want to say about 17, was going to write a play
Really?
about my father and all his shenanigans and situations.
No kidding.
I started writing it and it was getting good. This was like the beginning of me writing my comedy. Like this is how I got into writing comedy.
Oh, cool.
Um, yeah. So I started writing the play, and I was at my computer every day, clocking away, and then I realized, okay, because I had already visualized me becoming famous for this, and and I was like
Good.
sitting in Oprah's chair, and I was like, this is gonna embarrass the rest of my family, and they're gonna once I become famous, they're gonna realize who the author is and who the story is really about, and then they're gonna realize who I'm related to, and this is gonna embarrass the rest of my family who aren't as open about this situation as I am. So I stopped writing.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, you know what? It's not gonna be a good idea. They'd probably be mad at me for putting this story out. So let me pause.
Mm-hmm. No, I can understand that. You
Yeah.
certainly you're still connected to your family, and you want to
hmm
maintain peace, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I
I
wasn't so concerned about my father being embarrassed. I like you dug your own grave. I was
right.
more concerned about my brother and sister and
Sure.
the reaction that they would get from my audience because I
Mm-hmm.
was already that deep into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess where that's concerned, I guess you have to become the true fictional writer and take the story and then change it around so that it's not really the same story as what you actually lived. So it becomes different, and the characters are all different names and so forth. So
Oh,
there's
the
like the
characters definitely had different names. That was
yeah,
the first thing I did.
the first thing you did. Yeah, okay.
That was the fun. That was the fun of it, is creating the characters' names, because I was like, all right, I don't want it to rhyme with the actual person's name, so I was like, all right, let's start thinking of names, and I started going to like bouncingbaby.com and looking up
Right, right.
names, and yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time.
I did the same thing when I was writing my novel. In fact,
hmm
I realized early on what I wanted to do was to come up with names that were representative of who the person was.
hmm
So I was looking at meanings of names. Did you do that?
Yeah. hmm
You did the same thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But I did mine in my own way, not like the actual meanings of names, but like how they sounded to me. Like if I was looking for um like a girl who would not take the better care of herself, and she's got like 4 or 5 baby daddies, and I'm looking at like a Keisha or something that ends in Isha, because that's those are the more ghetto names of the black community, is they're always ending in Isha. So
yeah, that's
yeah.
true, actually. At least in terms of what I've seen on the TV shows, it's amazing
Uh-huh,
selection of
exactly.
those. Yeah. What's the one that Louise watches all the time? It's from the 90s. Living Single,
Oh, that's my show.
right? I mean,
I was
almost all the names are ending in Isha, right? In that one?
Yeah, yeah.
There's an example of
Yep. Oh, that was a good show.
it.
That was the beginning of Queen Latifah's acting career.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? That's
hmm
right. Yeah. Yeah, quite a launching pad that was. It's interesting too how there are so many of these shows that an actor comes in, it launches their career, and they become somebody really famous.
hmm
Tom Hanks.
And
Tom Hanks comes to mind. When he very early on, he was a cross-dresser in his first role,
oh my goodness.
but it launched his career, and it produced an amazing movie career.
Well, they say you have to do that at least once in your career in order to be a successful actor. So
I don't think that's exactly what he had in mind, but yes.
I don't think so either, but Wesley Snipes did it, so
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Who knows? Hey, how's this for a cool thought? We create this show, the first one, whatever the first one
hmm
is, and we get
hmm
a lead character, and the actor for the lead is really, really good, and it launches her career.
Ooh.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Then we'd really be on Oprah's couch. Because
Absolutely.
we'd be the Shonda Rhimes and the J.K. Rowlings of the world.
Oh,
Because
that's fun.
nobody talks about Meredith Grey on Grey's Anatomy. Everybody talks about Shonda Rhimes and how she created the
How
show.
she created
So,
it, yeah.
yeah.
I don't know anything about Game of Thrones. I know that it's really popular, but I know nothing about the storylines or anything. But I do know, having seen a picture of what the guy looks like who created the thing. That's the only thing I know about the show is what the
See, I
creator
don't
looks
even know about that.
like.
I am like one of the very few people in the world that have never seen Game of Thrones.
Nice to meet you. I'm the other one.
Okay, nice to meet you. I did see part of one episode and I was like, no, this is too much for me. I can't handle the gore, the sex,
I'm not
it's too much.
interested.
No.
Yeah. To me, that much drama. When you have to put that much drama into a story, the story's been lost. That's the way
Yeah, yeah. But
I.
people are loving it. Like,
Oh yeah,
this is the last season and people are upset.
I'm sure. Yeah,
Hmm.
when you have that many fans who are that rabidly
Yeah.
attached to something, that's going to happen every time.
Hmm.
And you can look at any really, really popular show and see that. Well, not it's not the same kind of genre at all. It's a completely different genre. But Downton Abbey, when Downton
Hmm.
Abbey finished their sixth season, people were just like, "Well, you got to do more. Is there going to be a movie? When's the movie going to come out?
Spoiler alert, they're doing a movie.
It's coming out in September.
Yep.
Yeah, we
And
knew
that's
about
how
that.
my show works.
We knew about that one. I mean, normally I don't check this stuff out, but we knew that one before it was even announced because Louise was following it so closely. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, mom just finished the series, so she's like, I need more. And then my other friend, she's obsessed with it. She watches it over and over and over. And I'm like, I don't get what's the draw? I was like, I don't do period pieces, so I can't
that's
handle it.
exactly what it is. It's that it's
Yeah.
period.
Hmm.
It's about the clothing and the
Yeah.
mannerisms and what their thought processes were at that time and how by today's standards it's all very backward, but for then
Yeah.
it was like that was cutting edge at that particular point in
Hmm.
time. So looking at it that way, Louise loves that so much. In fact, she did the Sunday show with me
Hmm.
because Marie and Mike wanted to watch the Super Bowl. And so we said, okay, we'll go watch the Super Bowl and I'll bring Louise on, which is only appropriate because she's the one who started the podcast with me 6.5 years
Hmm.
ago. And we ended up talking about a number of things where relationships were concerned, but we also alluded to the fact that she watched the Downton Abbey series and I can't kind of came in later on.
Hmm.
And actually, it ties in directly to what we just talked about because the earlier seasons, the first two, three, maybe part of the fourth series,
Hmm.
seasons rather,
Hmm.
were so soap opera-ish, so high
Hmm.
drama and so forth. And it's like one chaotic catastrophe after another.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I couldn't stomach it. But then it got into a healthier mode in seasons 5 and 6. And by season
Hmm.
six, like it was actually a lot of feel good. I'm thinking, okay, this is interesting. So like she described on Sunday,
Hmm.
whereas before I just kind of walked past when she was watching the program, now I was stopping and looking at the screen with her. I'm sitting down and watching because the episodes have gotten better. They actually
Yeah.
were storylines, So yeah, I think that illustrates it beautifully. The story is what carries it, in my view. It's not the
Yes.
drama and the chaos and confusion and all that kind of crap
See,
schlock.
for me, it's both. I feel
You
like
know?
that is the story, the drama and the chaos.
Okay. Well, apparently that's true for a lot of people.
Like did you ever hear the show Dynasty?
Oh yeah.
Okay, well they brought it back
Did they really?
and it's amazing. Totally, new characters and everything else, but same plot line, same I mean different actors but same characters. So
Well,
my
it can't be
mom's
different
like,
actors because if they did
yeah,
the
obviously.
they'd be in their wheelchair.
Yeah. So my mom's trying to explain to me how it was back in the day, and she's like, "Oh, that's how Alexis was back in the day. This is the drama that we dealt with." And I'm just enjoying the show, like as a show in a separate entirety in my era. So you have fun from both ends. So
I
it's great.
guess. Well, I
Hmm.
didn't watch Dynasty even then. I knew what it was. You
Yeah,
couldn't live in the United States at that time and not know what Dynasty was.
because that
It,
was the '80s, right? It was big in the '80s.
yes, the 80s. Yeah,
Okay.
it was
Yeah.
like not knowing what Dallas was. Everybody knew who
Yeah.
J.R. Ewing was. I mean, you didn't have
Yeah.
to like him, but everybody knew who J.R. Ewing was,
They tried to bring that back too. It didn't work out so well.
which is interesting because they're very similar. They're similar
Hmm.
programs in a way.
Yeah. I don't know what the hook is, but this one
Exactly.
Dynasty seems to be working. They did a lot of
Dallas.
reboots this year.
I think the hook with Dallas was Larry Hagman because he just did a wonderful, mean, nasty J.R. Ewing. I
Mm.
think that's what drew everybody in every time. He was a fabulous actor. He was really,
Hmm.
really but he also got kind of typecast from that point on. He'd actually had
Uh,
pretty nice roles. He was in I Dream of Jeannie. people don't even realize that.
Who do you play in I Dream of Jeannie?
He played Colonel, what's his name, Jeannie's love interest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So now
but
I know who you're talking about. Okay.
you would never make the connection that J.R. Ewing? No way.
So that was JR? Wait.
That was J.R.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's the
Okay.
same
I'm
guy.
starting to have flashbacks. All right. All right. Because I loved I Dream of Jeannie growing up. Granted, it was on Nick at Night when I was, watching it,
Oh,
but
sure. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, I was not huge into watching TV, but you know how when you're sick and you're staying home from school, that was
Mm-hmm.
the program that I wanted to come on
Yeah.
because we didn't have programs on demand. So you just kind of lived for, well, when's I Dream of Jeannie going to come on? That was one of the few you really wanted to watch when you were sick at home.
Yeah. For me, it was I Dream of Jeannie, and then after that, Bewitched. I was like, yes, let's get all my magic
That was another
in
one.
1 hour.
Elizabeth Montgomery, she was terrific. I really liked her.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so we got to get back to our shows here. So we got to create our shows.
Yes.
Um, so okay, so you've laid out one interesting storyline.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to do? Do you want to try to create some more storylines, or should we start putting some characters together?
Let's. You know what? I'm trying to think if I want this to be like a bunch of different situations for one character, or if I want it to be like a bunch of mini stories for different characters. You know what I mean?
Okay, all right. Well, there are a couple ways to look at it. First of
Mm-hmm.
all, even when we're creating one particular storyline, the storyline, in my view, typically what happens with most of the series that you see
Mm-hmm.
is they develop a storyline and they just keep repeating that storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And while that becomes very popular because it taps into different mindsets and so forth that people are used to, if the characters don't grow, it actually gets stale.
Yes.
Whereas the
Yes.
really successful series, like the first one that comes to my mind is MASH, the characters were all growing in that
Mm-hmm.
series, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So how long that lasted? It lasted like 12, 14 years, something like that, because the characters kept developing over time.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
Hot Lips wasn't always the Hot Lips that she was early on. She became a full human being by the end of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Hawkeye wasn't just this you know crazy troublemaker all the time. He actually developed into a real personality as well.
Mm-hmm.
Radar developed like crazy. I mean, it was just the
Mm-hmm.
whole thing was people developing and growing over time. So the way I look at it is no matter whether we treat it as one great big story with
Mm-hmm.
individual subplots in it or a series of stories, either way, the most important thing is do the characters grow? If the
Yes.
characters are going to grow, then it doesn't matter. You can actually do both ways. I
Mm.
mean, Mary Tyler Moore had spin-offs, right?
Facts.
There
I'm
was,
a
I
fan
think,
of the spinoff.
yeah, and there were successful spin-offs because the
Mm-hmm.
characters kept developing.
Mm-hmm.
So that to me is really the important part. I think it'll actually just kind of fall into place whether or not it's is it subplots within one story or is it multiple stories. It'll just kind of take care of itself, I think.
Okay.
Um, but that's just my take on it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm thinking with we came up with this hypothetical character Cassie, this
Mm-hmm.
character who is constantly hooking up with the wrong man and relationships never go the way she wants them to go, and then she's constantly posting on Facebook asking for help and all this
Mm-hmm.
sort of stuff like that. If she just stays in that mode all the time, that'll last for quite some time, but it'll get stale.
Yeah. I can
On the
already
other
see
hand,
myself going, oh, come on.
exactly.
Again.
Yeah, yeah. At some point, don't you ever learn?
Yes, exactly.
Right. But if, on the other hand, we're able to craft some storylines where she reaches some point of understanding. She doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
to get everything. She doesn't have to become a
Mm-hmm.
completely healthy, whole individual all in one fell swoop. But if she can
Right.
make little steps toward that each
Mm-hmm.
time, that becomes interesting.
Yes.
Now we're looking forward to, hey, she's actually growing into a real, self-contained, fully self-confident young woman.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah. I like that.
Okay. So let's see, where do we go with this? Oh, by the way, Suraj had an interesting comment. Everybody's been commenting in the background as usual, which is cool. We love that. Um, Suraj says, I just recall one thought on this. If you want to stay in my life, the door is open. If you don't want to stay in my life, the door is open. But one request, please don't stay in the door because you are blocking the traffic.
Facts. Facts.
I love that.
I live by that.
That was very good. But rest
I
is
take
just
it a step further and say, if you don't want to stay in my life, please climb out the window.
yes, right. So it's a little bit more passive aggressive, but that's okay. Sometimes, people do deserve a little passive aggressive. Uh, so okay, well, let's see. So are we going to develop characters next, or are we going to come up with
Sure,
more
let's
characters?
develop some characters.
All right. So let's go with the theme that you described, the woman dating the married man, playing the role of the victim, and how that plays out. So we need a
hmm
leading character in that. Our leading character
Yes.
is the woman. Um,
Um,
let's name her first.
okay. Hmm.
So this is lead character. Actually, before we assign characteristics, let's describe her. What's she like? I mean, we know
Physically or
in any way we want to describe her.
personality? Okay.
The answer is yes.
Well, I would say, see, this is the thing. They're always smart,
Okay.
but naive.
Smart but naive. So what does that
hmm
mean?
Meaning that, in their regular job, they're like at the top of their game, but like in their
Ah,
personal lives, they'll fall for anything?
professionally successful in some way.
Yes.
All right. Personal life is a bit of a mess.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Right. I'm making notes, and I'm not a fast writer, so that's what takes me a while here. Okay, so
Take
she's
your
smart,
time.
professionally smart, but personally a kind of a mess. What else can we say
hmm
about
Um, Also not so street smart. I think that's what makes her naive.
it? Not street smart. Now talk about street smart. What exactly is that? I mean, I think we all
Okay,
kind of sense of it.
there's difference between book smart and street smart. And book smart is like, you can retain information, you can apply things to, regular life. But street smart is like you can see through people's bullshit. Like, you know what I
Mm.
mean? It's that type of thing. It's knowing things for what they are without having to study.
So not being street smart, meaning in this case, she can't see through other people's BS.
hmm
Okay, that's a good description. Oh, and I have to interrupt because Sarah gave us a comment, not directly related to this, but it was kind of sort of related. She
Everything's
says,
related.
it is, yeah. So I started reading the magic, she says. I have a magic stone. I have the three relationships I'm truly grateful for and list several things what I'm grateful for within that relationship. And I say the magic words, thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, every night before I go to sleep, I think back at all the positive things I'm grateful for and pick the best. So, very good, Sarah.
Hmm.
That's
See,
nice.
I was doing that on my own, but I do that when I wake up. I'm like, what's new today? Like I just, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, I bought something new yesterday, and I'm grateful for that. So that's what's new today.
Oh, and Nasha has a question.
Oh, what's
She
your
says,
question, Nasha?
she says, when we put something in the vortex, how long does it take to manifest?
Ooh, it takes what as long as it takes.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's no set time limit on anything. So, because time is a construct. So,
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. The way I like to answer that question is along this line. Uh, it isn't so much how long does it take for the universe to deliver it to you. It's how long does it take for you to let it in?
hmm
Because the
hmm
universe loves speed. I mean, if you don't have any resistance at all, it'll show up like that.
right.
So when it's not showing up, it means that you're resisting it in some way. And that's the
Right.
question I always have to ask myself. Okay, if something isn't showing up that I want, where is my point of resistance? And sometimes I don't know.
Mhm.
Sometimes I just can't figure it out. I mean,
Yeah.
the best advice I get from all the co-hosts who are life coaches is, well, look within, ask your higher self or your inner being or whatever
Yeah.
questions about whatever it is. Why am I
Mhm.
resisting? What's in the way? How can I get rid of it? All that kind of thing. And listen for the answers, and very often you'll be able to find out what it is that way. And sometimes that works for me.
Mhm.
Sometimes it doesn't get there. But it inevitably comes down to me resisting, me
Mhm.
blocking in some way that maybe through some tape that I've recorded over the years because I was taught it from a young age, or I've
Mhm.
learned it from, watching the adults when I was growing up or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, Whatever it is, something is in the way, and that something is what's blocking the thing from manifesting. And
Mhm.
when it finally shows up, this is what's really cool about the universe. You can even have blocks in the way, and it can still get through. It just takes a while.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the image that was, I thought the best one that was presented to me was water running through a stream with rocks in the way, and the water just kind of works
Mm.
on the rocks, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
That's what source energy tries to do. It tries to find whatever the path of least resistance is to deliver the water to wherever you're going.
Right.
Same thing is true about manifestation. So when stuff isn't showing up, it means we've done a pretty darn good job of damming up the water, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Holler at your self-conscious. I mean, not subconscious, not self-conscious.
hmm yeah. It's subconscious and conscious too. I mean, it's actually
Mhm.
Neville Goddard talks about how really the two are part of the same thing. We
Mhm.
differentiate between conscious and subconscious because it's easier to think about it that way.
Yeah.
But really, the subconscious is part of the conscious.
Mhm.
I mean, we don't like to think about it that way, but it really is because
It
at
is,
every
or it wouldn't have the word conscious in
this is true. This is very true.
it.
So and to me, that's encouraging
Yeah.
because that means we can take control of it.
Mhm.
It may not be something we can easily take control of directly because it feels like the tapes are playing outside of our control. But ultimately, through meditation and various positive affirmation practices and so forth, we can take control. We can rewrite it. We can change it. And in so
Mhm.
doing, we take the you referred to victimhood. There's a victimhood
Mhm.
feel about it where I'm not in control. It's in control of me. Well, actually, we are in control of it.
Yeah.
And as we learn to do that, we stop being victims, which is really
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
We learn to be self-empowered, self-controlled, self-directed, happy, abundant, and thriving human beings, which
Mhm.
is exactly where we all want to be,
Yeah. Exactly.
right? Hopefully that helps you, Nasha.
I was just gonna say that.
Well, maybe you should be the host. You're good at this.
I'm not pressing all those buttons.
Oh, now she has a follow-up.
Oh.
She says, and one more thing, after reading Into the Magic Shop, I can feel major changes from within, but then again, I'm going to sleep. Every time I do the Ruth relaxation exercise, Ruth is one of the characters in that book, I just
Mhm.
pass out. Is it healing me from inside? And I say the answer to that is it's exactly like learning to meditate.
Mhm.
And I say that as somebody who is not an expert in meditation. I have that exact problem. When I try to meditate, I almost always go to sleep. And and I've been assured by people who are experts at meditation, including many of my co-hosts, that's perfectly fine. That's part of the process of learning to be a meditator.
Mhm.
So don't worry about falling asleep. You're still doing the right things. You're doing the changing in your mind. And if you're falling asleep in the middle of it, hey, fine. You're helping to reprogram your subconscious mind and your
That's just a
unconscious.
deeper meditation, man.
Yeah, good way to say it. Exactly. Uh, oh, and Sarah has a question.
Mhm.
Any tips on stopping the blocking or advice on knowing if you are blocking? What do you think?
I believe we talked about this yesterday. I'm trying to remember what Kelly said.
Hmm.
Um, I think she said ask for guidance from your higher. whatever, or your inner whatever, depending on what you believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then to see, yes, that's what it was, and then see what you get back, and if it feels good, then you're on the right path. If it feels bad, then you're resisting.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
Hmm.
Back when Wendy Dillard, you never actually met Wendy, I don't think, or heard her
No.
stuff. But
Mm-mm.
when Wendy Dillard was doing the podcast with me, she talked often about kind of grilling the block, even if you don't know what it is.
Hmm.
Just ask it all kinds of questions. You know,
Yeah.
what's your message for me? Why are you there? What are you all about? You know, what are you upset about? What's the feeling that you're asking me to feel? What's this negative thing that you're wanting me to feel? So I can go in and feel it, get a sense of what it is, and then release it.
Hmm.
Because that's the goal. Just keep coming at it in all the different angles you can. Ask your inner being, ask inside, listen for answers. Just come at it every single way you can. And if you do that from a perspective of I'm going to feel better when I'm done, you end up dissolving it. It ends up kind of going
Hmm.
away after a while.
Yeah.
How long is it going to take? I can't tell you. I don't know how long it'll take you to work through the whole thing, but that's what happens,
Yep. You
right?
chip away at the block.
You chip away at it. Yeah, exactly. And then Nasha's also asking, can we have a session with Linda about the book Into the Magic Shop and see what she, me, or the viewers or anybody else understand about it? And yeah, sure. We're in the middle of doing a series of 5 meditations that Linda is leading. I believe this week's is the fourth, but
Hmm.
I will make a note to share with Linda that you're looking for her insight on that. Maybe it's something we can kind of slip in. We always have like the first 5 or 10 minutes while we're giving people a chance to show up for the podcast
To
and
get
before
ready, yeah.
station, right? So maybe I can
Hmm.
get her to give a quick answer on it during that.
Hmm.
Um, and then Nasha also says, but Walt, I've done meditation several times being a holistic healer, but this knocks me out completely. So yes, been in deeper meditation and astral travel, but this is different. And
Hmm.
I'm not sure what the difference is. Asking, am I explaining myself well? Tell us more about what that difference is that you see, Nasha, and we'll see if we can address that. But that's the best I've got right now. I'll keep an eye
Hmm.
out while we're doing our character development.
Yes.
So, okay, so we have a couple of ideas about this character. She's smart, but a little naive. She's not street smart. She can't see through the BS. But
Hmm.
professionally, she's a very intelligent person. Okay, so we know that much
Yes.
about her.
Hmm.
Uh, do we have a name for her yet?
I want to say Nancy, but she goes by Nance.
Nance. Oh, I like that.
Hmm.
So Nance is her name. How old is she?
32.
32. Okay. Where does she live?
Uh, I don't know. I'm prone to the East Coast because that's where I'm from, but
That's all right. It can be anywhere,
but
but
I see a lot more dramatic male problems in LA.
in LA. Okay, so she's from
Hmm.
LA. All right. What does
Like I
she do
see
for a
more
living?
more fakeness out there.
She's a smart professional, so what does she do?
She is a, what do you call those people that like handle celebrities? Uh, Begins with a
Like,
P.
I'm not sure, like a not like a coach. You
Not,
mean like
no, and it's not
a
an
promoter?
assistant either. A what?
A promoter?
No. Um,
Uh, an agent? Um,
Kind of an agent. Yeah. Yeah, she can be an agent. Okay.
agent? So like a
Yeah.
talent.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so she's a
Which
talent
is ironic because you should be able to see through people's bullshit if you're a talent agent.
agent. You would think.
Hmm.
Well, we could always modify later on if we find that a particular aspect doesn't work. But hey, for the moment, we're just brainstorming, so that's okay.
Hmm.
All right, so she lives in Los Angeles. She's 32. Her name is Nance. She's a talent agent who is smart but a little bit naive. She's not street smart. What else
Hmm.
can we say about her?
Um,
But tell me about her family.
Her family.
Yeah.
I would say she's recently divorced.
Ah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of makes sense. Is she obsessed about being single?
No, opposite. She doesn't like being alone.
Doesn't like being alone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. What kind of interests does she have? Does she have hobbies?
Let's see, what kind of interest does she have? Well, being a talent agent, I feel like she goes to a lot of red carpets.
Okay. That's going to be a lot of fun to actually dramatize in a
Uh-huh.
video type scenario.
As Beyonce walks behind her.
I love it. Is she a star hunter?
Well, that's her job.
But I mean, is she starstruck? Like, is she somebody who just gets so thrilled whenever she sees a star? Not just.
No, it's part of her job. So she sees
It's
these
like her
people every
everyday
day.
thing since she's so
Yeah.
used. All right. So she actually is a fairly high-powered talent agent. She's not like
Yeah.
starting out. She's got some success. She's got some
She's got
stars
some
in.
shows under her belt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple
Okay.
of movies. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right. What other interests does she have?
Uh I want to say she's a soccer enthusiast, even though
A
I know
so-
nothing about soccer.
Why soccer? That's
I
interesting.
don't know. That's just what came to me. Like I see her on like a I don't know what day soccer comes on, but
Well,
with like
you say
sitting on her couch with a jersey on.
you say she's divorced. Is she a single mom?
She could be. Yeah.
Because that would the
Yes.
soccer
Yes.
angle would
Yes.
make
She
sense
is a
there.
sim. Yes.
Because now she's not just a career woman; she's also a soccer mom.
Yes. I like that.
Okay. So she has one child,
Two.
two children. Okay.
Two childs.
Child. That's right. That's what I started to say. And their names are.
Ooh. Okay. Hmm. That would depend on who the father is and what their nationalities are.
Well, maybe we got to go back to who the ex is.
Yeah.
Let's leave Nance for a bit. Let's talk about the ex. So, what's the ex's name?
Okay.
You said he's got to be a somewhat likable character, so we got to keep that in mind.
Yeah. 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 He's the good guy in this story. He got the shaft via Nance.
Oh, okay, interesting. So
This
he
is how
was
this.
so he wasn't one of the abusive types.
No,
Interesting. Okay.
which is what makes it interesting. Is it's kind of the grass is greener on the other side, and then you find out it really isn't type story.
Okay. All right. That's good. So let's see. What's his name then? If she's Nance, he's what? He's a good guy. I'm going to make a couple of those notes.
Hmm. No, Brett.
Brett? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Brett and Nance.
Yeah, Brett and Nance. I like that.
Grass is greener on the other side. I got to write that one down.
Hmm.
Siraj wrote down casting couch. Like,
Oh no,
I think we saved that
Siraj, you're
up for
terrible.
but jeez.
That's a whole different series.
Yeah, I think it is. Nasha says she's rewiring her brain. Good. That's good.
And that
All
takes
right.
some time.
It does. Yeah.
Hmm.
You don't get it done all at once, right?
Yeah.
All right. So Brett's a good guy. What else is he? Is he successful in his career?
Mm, yeah, but it's not like a successful career you would consider like a high paying career. It's like he's like
Like
an
she was a
electrician
successful
or
accountant.
something.
He's a what?
He's like an electrician or something.
Electrician. Okay, so he's not like a talent agent like she is. She's got the
No.
glamour career.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's got a mundane, everyday career.
Right.
Okay, so he's an electrician. And I guess we're kind of describing a fairly stable guy, and which isn't that
Mm-hmm.
it's too boring for her. That's one of the reasons that she left. Is that it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So he's too boring. What else can we say about him? What are his interests? What is he like?
He's the one who got her into soccer.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he got Nance interested in soccer, and they have the two kids, both of whom are into soccer as well because of that connection.
Mm-hmm. They're a soccer family.
They're a soccer family, or they were anyway, so they got broken up. Um, what else can we say about him that helps us define who the children are? Because that's where we got stuck. We were trying to figure out how to name the kids, and we said, well, what depends who
Okay.
the father is.
He's gonna be Spanish, which is why he's into soccer.
Okay, so he's Hispanic. Right. Which probably means he calls it football rather than soccer,
Facts.
right? And what is it about being Hispanic that influences who he is as a father?
I don't think it does. I don't. I don't. Mm, I don't. No.
So being Hispanic is actually just a minor piece of who he is. He just
Yeah.
happens to be Hispanic, and that's it.
That's
Okay.
just paint. That just paints the picture of the
Okay.
nationality of the kids for me.
So if Nance was 32, how old is Brett?
Brett is 30.
30. Is it Brett or Rhett?
Brett.
Brett. It
B.
is with B. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he's age 30. He's the younger man. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Um, and what are his interests? I mean, we know he's interested in soccer or football. What else is he interested in?
Um, I'd say he. I would say he works for someone, but he wants to start his own
Okay.
electrician business or whatever you call that.
So he's not self-employed, but he wants to be.
Right.
Okay. What's holding him back?
Hmm. Probably the financial stability that he has right now with his family
Okay.
and
So afraid of,
risking it to go out on his own.
right. So he's afraid of financial instability.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So with that in mind, let's go back to their two kids. So what can we say
Okay.
about their kids? Two boys,
Okay.
two girls, boy and girl. What are they?
Boy and girl, Lana and Brett Jr.
And Brett Jr. Oh my. I know what kind of weight that is. I'm a Walt Jr. I understand how that.
Yeah. Hmm.
All right. And what's what's the most startling characteristics of Lana and Brett that get your attention when you think about them with Nance and Brett as their parents?
Lana has this gorgeous dark long hair.
Oh, okay.
Like her parents are the type. It has to do with the Hispanic part of him that she's never gotten a haircut.
Never gotten a haircut. Okay.
Hmm. So it's like down to her butt type of hair.
Yeah. Do women still do that? I mean, that used to be something that was really popular when I was in school, but I don't see
Some people still do that.
that.
I had to school my sister and let her know like you need to get them a trim every 6 months, like
Yeah.
because
Okay.
it'll break your hair. It's
Oh yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. I do remember there were a couple of girls in school who maintained hair like that, who really knew how to do it well, and their hair
Hmm.
was gorgeous. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine maintaining hair like that, washing hair and all that. That must be a nightmare
Oh
to
my
try to do.
God. You don't
But
even want to know. You don't
I,
even want to
I definitely did not want to know. But I
Once you get
admire
it wet, there's no going back.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But they were good at it. I mean,
Yeah,
there were two
you
girls
have
in
to
particular
be.
I can think of who just, I mean, their hair was pristine. It was beautiful. And I thought, wow,
Hmm.
yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so she has long, very long dark hair.
Hmm.
What else can we say about her?
Uh, I'd say they both have piercing blue eyes.
Really? Okay.
Hmm.
All right, so I will make a note of piercing blue eyes. What kind of people are they?
They're good kids. They get good grades. I would say the boy probably struggles. I'm sensing some sort of dyslexia.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Because that could
Okay.
put a strain on the parenting, deciding
Yeah,
what to do about that. Hmm.
yeah, that makes sense. Does Lana have any issues going on?
Does Lana have any issues? I'm going to say later on she's going to have a little struggle with the divorce.
Okay. Well, they're already divorced.
Whereas,
She's already been through that, or she's in the middle of it, perhaps.
okay, then she's gonna start developing, issues with two parent households. No, other way around. The separation of the two parent household.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Yeah.
Two parent households, right? Well, our characters are starting to take form. This is good.
Hmm.
This is very good. There's only one bad thing, and that is we're down to less than a minute left, so we'll have to carry this on within like next Wednesday or something, or by
Yep.
email to the Queen or something. But this is a good start. This is a good start. I like
Yeah.
this. Yeah. It shows how much work goes into this kind of thing, you know? It's not
Yeah.
something that happens easily. You have
Because
to,
that was just four characters, and that took an hour.
I know, it takes a while. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
As I'm looking, I realized we actually started a few minutes late, so we actually have a little bit more than a minute. But
That's
I
true.
will take advantage to remind people who are listening, and if you're enjoying what you're hearing, creating this is the behind the scenes creation of a yet to be launched podcast, fictional, serial, old time radio style show. And Alex and I are inventing it as we go. So,
Yep.
if you're hearing something and you say, "Oh, I just saw something," send us a note about it, or tune into the live stream and type in a comment and make this suggestion or that suggestion. Because, hey, why does it have to be just us? You guys can contribute it.
Yeah. Everybody joined in.
And if you're not a subscriber, well, that's probably the best way to find out, what the next thing is that's going to happen in the development of
Hmm.
this series, this serial. To become a subscriber, the instructions on how to do it are at the homepage, loatoday.net. And continue to share the fact that you're liking what you're hearing here, and isn't it cool to see a series being born? Because that's what's happening here.
Hmm.
Actually, it's in the pre-being born series. It's in the state of conception.
Like,
So we're
imagine if you
conceiving this
could
part of
sit with J.K. Rowling in the beginning
it.
of Harry
Yeah,
Potter.
wouldn't that have been
Oh,
something?
oh my God.
That would be incredible. Of course,
I would have
probably
died.
we would have gotten a lot of cold stares, like leave me alone, I'm writing. But still,
Yeah.
if you could do it inside her head.
Yeah.
But that would be fun. Yeah. So,
Hmm.
this is kind of a different thing. I don't think. Have you ever heard of a series of any kind that was portraying how another series was being created?
No. Mm-mm.
I think this is kind of new. So
Unless
we're
they
doing
do
breaking
like
ground.
specials after, like, not like the
Mm.
DVD specials, but like, um for instance, let's sticking with the Harry Potter theme, they did this special with where Malfoy ended up going to different fans' houses and seeing how they got started with Harry Potter. Like, they did a whole special on that. So
Oh, no
stuff like
kidding.
that I've
Yeah.
seen. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, I think this is probably the first one being done where it's being done before the series actually got created and launched. So
I
I
would
think
say definitely.
we're breaking new ground here. So
Yep.
this is fun. Good. I'm glad we're
Hmm.
doing this. Um, Also want to remind people, just because like you saw during today's podcast or listened during today's podcast, we're still doing question and answer during it, but while we're waiting for
Hmm.
other questions to come along, we're just going to continue doing the development of this new series. So it's all combined together. So don't feel free to show up and ask questions or send questions in that you want Alex and I to answer on the podcast. And by the way, next week Kelly Pretty, who's been doing the Tuesday afternoon podcast, is going to join us on
Hmm.
this one, the Wednesday morning podcast. So Alex, I guess the next time you and I talk about this directly will be the Tuesday afternoon ones.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but yeah, we got a little shift going on there, and there we may actually even get another person on the Tuesday afternoon one as well. Um,
Hmm.
I'm, I have somebody who's expressed some interest. I'm going to have a conversation with him and see if it's a good fit. But
Okay.
I'll let you know what I find out.
All right.
So,
Cool beans.
so I will next be talking with you on Friday morning with Tom Wells, who's also a fan of this idea. So we can probably
Hmm.
fleshing it out on Friday morning.
He's
Tom
got an
actually
imagination on him, so I'm excited to see what
does.
he has to say.
Does. Well, he was actually talking about just live streaming some, make it up as we go along kind of thing. So just like, don't have a script, just start, playing it out. And that sounded,
I don't know. That's too messy.
well, I'll let you tell that to him. I thought it was an interesting idea. I think it's actually a little bit early. I think we have to develop some characters a little bit
Yeah.
more to do
Yeah.
that. Because he's really into improv. He's done a lot of improv,
I
play
have
type.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So you know what that's like. You
Hmm.
We can probably do something similar here. I think though we really need to develop the characters a bit before we try to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's going to be fun. So anyway, thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.